Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdog's Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, I have a couple of stories of possible alien encounters. One with this, light that might spark, questions of surveillance, and another, this odd winged humanoid and diamond-shaped UFO. Let's get into the first article and hear all about them with this one titled, Persistent Orange Light Seen Near Fort Detrick, Frederick, Maryland raises surveillance questions. Let's get into the article now. In June 2016, an anonymous government employee living directly across from Fort Detrick reported a recurring, unexplained aerial light appearing night after night above the installation. The object's fixed position, intermediate absences, and apparent hovering behavior raised unsettling questions about long-term monitoring of one of the most sensitive military medical research facilities in the United States. Is Fort Detrick a United States Army Medical Command installation and an integral part of the United States Biological Defense Program being monitored by otherworldly factions? It's a startling possibility, folks. Let's read onwards now. I work at a government facility, so I'd like to remain anonymous. I have to report what I see, though. I recently moved to Frederick, Maryland, about a month or so ago. I started noticing an unusual light in the night sky. At first glance, one may think it to be a star, but when compared against other stars in the night sky, it was very prominent. It gives off the same glow color-wise as fire, an orange hue with red hues. My girlfriend gets off at night, and we take the same route home every time. I have seen this anomaly almost every night, and it always appears in pretty much the same spot every time I see it. The first time that I really began paying attention to it was after midnight, and there were no cars on the road with me. I stopped my car in the middle of the road and watched this thing. You can tell that while it is staying in one spot, it is hovering in place as if the wind is affecting its stability. I've been watching this for weeks now, and the fact that it is not there some nights strikes me as odd. Last night struck me as odder because at some point during my drive, it vanished. Usually it will remain in the one spot until I go into the house, but last night, by the time I turned onto my street, it was gone. I live across the street from Fort Detrick, and this light is positioned as if it is monitoring the base G. Now, do you suppose that this is some sort of helicopter, folks? Because it was actually hovering, which is something we have seen from some UFOs, but it makes me think. Do you suppose that maybe Fort Detrick is basically being monitored by another part of the government, or maybe another country, folks? Or do you think it's actually a real UFO, perhaps controlled by real extraterrestrial entities? Interesting what America is developing at this particular base, folks. But either way, it's an interesting idea. But let's read some commentary notes on this as well. Several noteworthy patterns emerge in this account. The object appears repeatedly at a fixed altitude, mimicking a celestial body while exhibiting controlled hover behavior inconsistent with stars, aircraft, or satellites. The witness describes subtle instability suggesting active station keeping rather than passive drift. So, is it some active station that's being used by these alien beings, folks, to keep an eye on this particular base? Once again, folks, we have to ask that question. But let's read more of this commentary and hear more of these ideas about all of this. The emotional tone is restrained but increasingly uneasy, notably as the lights demonstrates selective appearances and sudden disappearances during observation. This aligns with other long-duration monitoring reports near military and research installations where witnesses note predictable placement combined with intelligent withdrawal. Similar orange and red luminous objects have been reported near sensitive facilities nationwide, including nuclear sites, aerospace testing corridors, and advanced research centers. Theories range from classified surveillance platforms to ultra-terrestrial or interdimensional probes that exhibit a persistent interest in human technological and biological activity. Fort Detrick itself has a complex and controversial history as the historical center of the United States Biological Warfare and Defense Research Program. The installation has long been surrounded by secrecy, speculation, and public concern from Cold War-era bioweapons development to modern biodefense initiatives. The site serves as a focal point of high-consequence research. The context makes recurring aerial surveillance reports in the immediate vicinity especially significant. Indeed, folks, I would have to say I agree with that. So is it possible that either we are, or maybe aliens are monitoring this, Fort Detrick in case we somehow make a virus that could basically destroy all of mankind, folks? I would definitely say, it's a possibility. Either way now, folks, let's move on to the next article. Winged humanoid and diamond-shaped UFO encounters on Spring Creek Road near Rock Creek, Rockford. A repeated anomaly at the same location. And that sounds amazing, folks. Let's get into this account with basically two different phenomena, but they might be related. Let's get into this account and story now, folks. On two separate nights, nearly 3 years apart, a witness and her son encountered an extraordinary aerial phenomena at the exact rural location outside Rockford, Illinois. What began as a close-range UFO observation later escalated into a direct encounter with a winged humanoid. The recurrence at the exact site raises questions about the overlap between aerial intelligence and humanoid manifestations. I spoke with a witness, JL, who had both a UFO experience and a winged humanoid encounter at the exact location. On the evening of January 1st, 2000, JL and her son were traveling on Spring Creek Road in Rockford, Illinois. As they approached Rock Creek, they both observed a large diamond-shaped craft hovering above the creek. The craft was brightly lit with a distinct beam of light coming from the bottom, directed toward the creek. JL slowed the car, and suddenly the craft cut off the beam of light. At the same time, it slowly ascended into the night sky. After the incident, both JL and her son experienced lingering dreams and began to notice paranormal activity around them. Then, on October 9th in 2002, around 8 p.m., JL was again driving on Spring Creek Road near Rock Creek. She observed a winged shape approaching her head-on. As the flying anomaly got closer, it swooped up and over the car. JL described the winged being as humanoid in shape, with two leg-like structures trailing below it. Its wingspan was so broad that it blocked out all the streetlights. She estimated that it was about 6 feet tall, black, and had large wings with a total span of approximately 12 feet. She immediately stopped the car and looked down the road behind her. The winged being had vanished, but she noticed that the trees were moving as if a massive gust of wind had passed through them. She also mentioned that the being never flapped its wings. It seemed to be propelled by an unknown force. Since the incident, JL has experienced a sense of consternation and anxiety, even though she now lives in Tennessee. So, JL has no way to deal with these feelings, folks. She probably feels frightened because she doesn't know exactly what she saw. We'll talk a little more about that after we read this commentary notes. Pattern recognition. The most notable pattern is recurrence at the same geographic point. Multiple phenomena occurred within a confined corridor along Spring Creek Road near Rock Creek. This mirrors other hotspot cases where UFO activity precedes or coincides with humanoid encounters. Let's read now. Emotional and psychological impact. The witness reports lingering dreams, paranormal disturbances, and long-term anxiety. These effects are commonly reported in proximity to UFO encounters and winged humanoid cases, suggesting an experiential component beyond visual observation. The next detail here is basically mentioned behavioral anomalies. The winged entity exhibited controlled motion without visible wing flapping and generated environmental disturbances consistent with displacement of air or energy rather than conventional flight, which is something we've noted before, folks, with these entities, that they can basically fly without flapping their wings. Now, let's read the next point. Possible origin theories. The overlap strongly supports an ultra-terrestrial or interdimensional hypothesis rather than a purely biological cryptid explanation. The diamond-shaped craft and the latter winged humanoid may represent different manifestations of the same underlying intelligence operating within localized geographic nodes. Now let's read this next point titled Related Activity Research. Northern Illinois has a documented history of UFO sightings, unexplained aerial lights, and winged humanoid reports extending into the Chicago metropolitan region. Similar patterns have been reported near waterways, rail corridors, and power infrastructure, suggesting environmental or geomagnetic relevance to manifestation events. Now, this particular story is very strange, folks, particularly with both the UFO and the winged humanoid here, folks. The winged humanoid looks like Mothman, but did you notice that it had black skin, folks, which was very reminiscent of a female winged humanoid by U.S. soldiers during the Vietnam War? And the UFO? Remember, it seemed to basically be flying over that creek. Could have been siphoning water from it, like we've read before with so many other stories, folks. And then there's Fort Detrick, folks. Like this story, we don't have nearly enough information to come to any conclusion. All we know is that these entities seemingly are here. So very interesting. Either way, folks, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics, they're bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions of the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure to hit the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.